Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore the quiet but totally enduring brilliance of Perry Maxwell. He was an incredibly influential voice during America's golden age of golf architecture. And as we're going to see, he was a designer who fundamentally proved that truly great golf lives and breathes right there on the green. If you've ever stood out there on a fairway and felt like the course was literally asking you a question rather than just demanding raw power, well, you've likely felt the echoes of Maxwell's influence.
So before we get into the exact mechanics of how he actually built these incredible courses, I want you to consider this reflection inspired by his work. A great golf course does not reveal all of its secrets in one round. It invites you back again and again to discover something new. That beautifully sets the tone for our entire analysis today. Maxwell definitely wasn't the kind of architect who wanted to overwhelm you right out of the gate. He valued timeless subtlety over massive, dramatic statements. It's like a giant puzzle that you slowly unravel over a lifetime of play.
Section 1. The final 20 yards.
Okay, so some architects are remembered for these visually explosive features, right? The dramatic, yawning bunkers or routing holes across these spectacular cliffside landscapes. Basically, they shout at you. But Perry Maxwell? He whispered. He's remembered for something far more subtle, which is his natural green complexes. He taught generations of golfers that the final 20 yards of a hole, the approach and the putt, often dictate absolutely everything that came before it.
This really comes down to how we define the green under his philosophy. For Maxwell, the green is where every single golf hole finds its true character. It demands thoughtful planning, patient decision-making, and honestly, a ton of imagination. When you step onto a Maxwell green, it's kind of like time just slows down. The contours aren't wild or gimmicky, they're beautifully natural. And this right here is exactly why his designs feel so timeless rather than overly complicated. More than 70 years after his passing, his work feels just as relevant as the day the grass was planted.
Section 2. Defending against modern power. And this beautifully illustrates a real clash between eras. Look, golf has changed drastically since Maxwell was walking the rolling hills of Oklahoma. Today, we're dealing with larger drivers, golf balls that fly unbelievably far, global broadcasts, and crazy tech that analyzes the spin rate of every single swing. A lot of classic courses really struggle to keep pace with all that, but Maxwell? He built timeless defenses. A longer drive absolutely cannot erase the need for a proper approach angle. More forgiving clubs simply can't flatten out a subtle green contour. He proved, for sure, that brute force alone just cannot solve thoughtful architecture.
Which brings us right to the challenge he extends directly to us. The questions his courses ask remain exactly the same today as they did a century ago. Can you choose the correct angle? Can you read the subtle contours? Can you finish the hole with imagination rather than force? Strategy like that rarely becomes outdated. This is exactly why a course like Southern Hills continues hosting major championships today. Because intelligence always outlasts distance, and he built courses that literally grow wiser with age.
Section 3. The Architect's Architect.
Let's talk about his professional relationships, especially his friendship with the legendary Alister MacKenzie. They shared way more than just mutual admiration. They shared a core philosophy. They both strongly believed golf should blend naturally into the landscape. They rejected unnecessary punishment. And they fiercely believed in rewarding intelligence over just demanding power. In fact, after MacKenzie passed away in 1934, Maxwell was actually invited to consult on Augusta National. That is an extraordinary vote of confidence. And his greatest contribution there, his restraint. He carefully preserved the spirit of MacKenzie's masterpiece. Because sometimes the absolute greatest compliment one architect can pay another is knowing exactly what not to change.
But his influence definitely didn't stop in the 1930s. Today, modern architects, names you're definitely going to recognize, like Tom Doak, Gil Hanse, Bill Core, and Ben Crenshaw, they still intently study his timeless principles. They look to him because his quiet influence answers the big questions every generation of designers faces. How do you create challenge without cruelty? How do you build courses that remain enjoyable after 100 years? Maxwell was embracing natural landforms and strategic variety decades before it became a trendy modern thing to do.
And because his work is so highly revered, restoration architects today devote literally countless hours to preserving his original vision. When they restore a Maxwell masterpiece, they follow this incredibly rigorous process. They're poring over historic photographs, analyzing old construction drawings, reviewing vintage scorecards. They even read through his personal correspondence. They do all this not to modernize the courses, actually quite the opposite. They're seeking absolute authenticity. They want to ensure that golfers walking those fairways today experience something remarkably close to what players enjoyed generations ago. That unbroken continuity is a massive part of the whole shebang.
Section 4.
welcoming the everyday golfer.
Now, this might just be his finest quality. Maxwell's greatest contribution reaches way beyond professional golf. He designed architecture that actively welcomes ordinary golfers. Weekend foursomes, families, club members, beginners. Instead of building courses that just completely intimidate players with sheer length or punishing hazards, he built courses that invite you to think, to learn, and most importantly, to return. Every single round is a generous invitation to get to know the land just a little bit better.
Section 5. A timeless philosophy. So pulling all of these threads together, what's the ultimate takeaway from his worldwide legacy? Well, the cool thing is you can still experience it firsthand. You can go walk the fairways of these enduring masterpieces today. Incredible places like Southern Hills in Tulsa, Prairie Dunes in Kansas, Darnick Hills, Old Town Club, and the University of Oklahoma golf course. When you play these, you quickly discover how every single shot, right from the tee, perfectly prepares you for that ultimate test on the green. He really believed every fairway approach should reward thoughtful positioning, slowly revealing another layer of strategy the closer you get to the pin.
Which brings us perfectly to this quote. The greatest defense of a golf hole is not its length, it is the intelligence of its green. This is his ultimate lesson. Think about it. If he had never designed a golf course, American golf would still have produced great architects, sure, but we might never have fully appreciated the true artistry of the putting surface. Great architecture rarely shouts, it whispers quietly beneath beautifully contoured surfaces that encourage creativity over punishment.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap things up. As technology continues to push the absolute limits of distance and equipment, will the quiet intelligence of the green remain the ultimate test for future generations of golfers? It really leaves us wondering if Perry Maxwell's greatest masterpiece wasn't a single physical golf course at all, but rather a philosophy, one that's going to easily outlive any modern technology we can throw at it.
Thank you so much for joining this explainer. I really hope you walk away with a totally newfound appreciation for the art of the green. Be sure to catch our next analysis, where we're going to shift gears completely and explore the philosophy of hard par, easy bogey, with another absolute legend of the game, Robert Trent Jones Sr. Until then, keep analyzing, keep learning, and we will see you next time.